Hi, this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking, and here's our next project, Hope and Kindness card making. This is card 1 and 2, and you get 2 of each. Here we go. Hi, this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking, and I am going to start on this Hope and Kindness workshop, card making workshop. And just to let you know, this is the card making workshop that comes with the Hope and Kindness papers and cardstock. And but you'll also need the Hope and Kindness Stampin' Thin Cut, which I used from my scrapbooking bundle, and I made the cuts already, but I haven't stamped them. Stitched rectangle, and I don't have that in front of me. I'll show it to you a little bit later. We need the Harbor ink pad, the Intense ink pad, and various colors of tri-blend markers, including coral, yellow gold, vintage blue, which I'm using true blue, and you'll need some loose gold sequins for a little bling, and some foam tape, and runner, adhesive runner, and some glue to help bond things. So I've got multi-liquid glue and mono liquid glue to use. And then you'll also need some blocks to do stamping. And the pickup tool, which this is the pickup tool that I'm using, that we carry it close to my heart. It's essentially a stick of wax with this paper coating on it, so you can make it bigger as you need to. I mean, take some of the paper off. So, I'll set that over here. Now, I've already done the cutting. They do give a really good tip for the doily cuts, and it says use a regular cutting mat that comes with the Close to My Heart die cut machine, which is like the best die cut machine. It says do not use the magnetic mat. Place a piece of wax paper between the thin cut and cardstock prior to cutting for ease of release. So these doilies have little bitty holes and stuff in them. So if you use this wax paper, you're not going to be sitting there punching all the parts that don't come out. Now, I actually did use some tape to pull out pieces to save myself some time. And also when you're making your thin cuts, use some washi tape to hold it in place. Okay, so here are the cuts. I'm not going to really go through them. They're pretty usual cuts for cards. Not terrifically bad. We've got a bunch of doilies to make, and the stitched rectangle die cut that I made in various colors according to the instructions, and some zip strips. And so you get, so here is what I've done. I've made my cuts, and I put them in sandwich bags marked accordingly, 1 through 8. And so we will be making card 1, card 2 through card 8, but each card 1 is 2 different cards. So there'll be 16 cards altogether. So here's all my card pieces. And then with your your card making kit, you get, of course, cards and envelopes using, A2 cards and envelopes. Set the envelopes aside. Here's all the cards. Put those up here. And then you also get a full sheet of die cuts that are just like the scrapbooking die cuts. So super pretty, just a whole bunch of die cuts. I could count them, but I'm not going to, not now. So here are the 2 cards that we're going to do for the first 2 cards. So I'm going to set this over. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take out the hello. See, I hate to pull this out because really I don't want to lose pieces. And see, some of these pieces just come off pretty easily. Let me stick these back in so I don't lose them. And I will go ahead and pop out the hello. Okay, I'm overdubbing at this point, and I did speed up by 150% the me putting the cards together just to help move things along a little bit. So here's all my bags, and I'm going to pull out bag number 1. So this has got all of the cuts for card 1. So each card has essentially the same paper cuts. I'm folding away from that scored line there. So it's kind of concave, and you would think you would want to fold towards it, but you actually fold in the opposite direction that's intuitive. So I'm going to go ahead and fold up both of my cards. So we're essentially using the same paper cuts, but we're going to do a slightly different layout so you don't get all of the same looking cards. They have, you know, their own, the two cards have their own look to them. So we either flip papers over or turn them so that they're landscape instead of portrait. So just for a little change of pace. Now we're going to use the large doily, which I cut to be, so it's 4 inches on one side and 2 inches was the leftover piece. And then we're going to trim off the edges of it. And I'm putting the Harbor small doily cut in half right in the center of the large doily. Now the white doily, we're going to go ahead and cut it in half. Just like that. So see, same kind of doily look, but totally different look. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Tombow runner, and I'm giving just kind of an even amount of white around the edges and an even amount of white in between. I'm just trying to choose which, do I want the textured side or the kind of watercolored side? So, you know, you use your whichever you like the most. And then we've got kind of our signature paper for Hope and Kindness. So really pretty, such pretty paper. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my doily down with my Tombow, just because it's easy. No other reason, just because it's easy. And here I am trimming off the edge. You can also flip the card over and do it from the back side. It's kind of easier to see what you're doing that way. So we're going to go ahead and put the Harbor doily down right in the center part of the large doily. Pretty, right? And here we're using not just the frame part, but the inside parts of the stitched rectangles. So they're very handy. So sometimes I use the inside, sometimes we use the frames, once again, just to give a different look. And we're putting it on top of a small piece of the sage. And I'm using this Wishes stamp that I got for another project. And it's got just almost every kind of sentiment that you would need for a card. Anywhere from congratulations to condolences, happy anniversary, happy birthday. It's got it covered. So I'm not necessarily using the same ink stamp that they're using on the instructions, but you can use that, or you can use whatever sentiment stamp set you've got. And go ahead and feel free, instead of using their suggested ones, what kind of cards do you send out? Do you send out a lot of thank you cards? then make a bunch of thank you cards. You know, whatever, if you have a big family with lots of birthdays, perfect time to make birthday cards. Whatever you kind of works with you. This is about you. This isn't about the instructions. It's about, you know, what works for you. So now we're putting down our mid piece, which is peach cardstock, and then the flip side of the floral, which is a sweet little daisy with a kraft background. And then we're going to put the edge of the doily just right to the edge of the paper, up and down, and kind of offset from each other. And then the hello that are part of our die cuts is going to go right in the center. So if you haven't seen somebody for a long time, or you haven't talked with them on the phone, then you can send this, you know, cute little hello card. Like, hey, I've missed you. So what I find the easiest thing to do is to put the first and last, whether it's a background square or rectangle, or the letters, put down the first one and the last one, and then you can kind of space the inside letters or circles or rectangles or whatever they are. You can space them more easily. I say that, and then I didn't do a very good job of spacing. So I'm going to have to do some scooching. So it's always kind of good to do a dry run first. Just saying. So then we've got our hello card. And now we're going to do a little, that's going to say heart on it, that one. We're going to do some stamping. So this card uses these die cuts from the Hope and Kindness stamp set. So the thin cuts, you can see them in the background there. I'm just picking out the ones that I'm going to go ahead and stamp. And this is the one that I think has the berries with it. So you kind of have to figure out which, and then you have to flip it over so that you know which way. There you go. See, that's how you know that it goes to that one. You have to flip that over, and now that goes that way. So the ink that I'm using for this, go ahead and use one of my blocks. And the ink that we're using is the Intense Black ink. And I really need to buy a new ink pad. Mine is just, it sort of fell apart on me. I've never, ever in, gosh, I've been doing close to my heart. Well, I've been a consultant since 2008. So that's like, gosh, 14 years. And I did it for a number of years before that. So I would say I've been doing close to my heart for 18 or 19 years. I've never had a stamp pad fall apart on me, but I think it's because I use this one so bloomin' much. I mean, a lot. So anyway, that's they don't fall apart. So I'm going to go ahead and do some of the little daisy ones too. So the hardest thing, if they're not a perfectly symmetrical stamp, is just kind of figuring out how to orient the stamp. So once you've got that figured, then you can kind of easily set the other blank up in the same direction. Put the ink away so I don't make a mess, because I've made messes. So I happen to have my tri-blend markers handy, and this is the coral marker, and so I'm going to use, since it matches so beautifully with the pink, I'm going to go ahead and use the coral to make the flowers. You can use the colors that you like. I just don't want to make blue leaves. It kind of shows blue leaves, and that's kind of, I just don't want to make blue leaves. So I'm kind of trimming it out in the darker color, and then using the middle color to kind of come around and kind of blend the darker color in to kind of give, highlight some shadowing. Actually, the tri-blend markers, I just got a whole bunch today delivered to fill in the gaps that I was missing. And they actually say to go ahead and color, like this whole flower would be colored with the light first, and then you would come back with the darker and go around the outside edge, and then you would take the medium color and blend the colors together. So I'm using the blue for the berries. So I think this is true blue, and actually they suggested vintage blue. Well, I just got the vintage blue in today. Oh my gosh, is it a beautiful color? It is really, really a beautiful color. So, but I already did the card, so that's the way it goes. I'll use it, have another time to use it. So I'm making some little yellow daisies, and these little teensy little flowers or whatever, they're going to be yellow too, this kind of yellowish gold. And with the green, for the green leaves, I'm using the medium green to kind of outline and do shadowing. And then I'll come back with the lighter color and fill it in. But I do like, when you add some shadowing, it just kind of adds some dimension to your coloring. So you're not just using a flat color. It's just really nice. That's why these tri-blend markers are so wonderful to work with, because you get to have 3 shades to really add dimension to your coloring. So when you look at a leaf, it's never just a flat color. So I should have done all the same colors at the same time. It's just easier. Anyway, you can go watch me color here. And I'm not a great colorer, so I'm just saying, getting these tri-blend markers has taught me more about coloring than I knew from my younger years. So I really like the way they come out. And then you can go over everything with the light, and it just blends the colors together beautifully. So see, it makes a big difference. There's one, and there's the other. So, and these are great for popping up. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of my double stick foam pieces from the insides of my shaker windows. Use the extra pieces there. And it's really strong foam adhesive, and it pops it up. So you've got a lot of dimension going with this. So you actually have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of things on this card. That's pretty darn good for a card, to have that many layers of things. So the dimension is what makes the cards interesting. And what I've found is the cards that I send to people, they really like them, and they're so impressed with them that they save them. I'm not saying that I'm such a great card maker. My card making is thanks too close to my heart. But, I try to tell them, well, it's just I use these instructions. Oh, but they're so beautiful, I save them. So there's our first card. And see, they do look different. But it's the same basic design. It's all about the embellishments, folks. So cool, right? Okay, so these videos, I'm going to do 4 videos. So there's going to be 2 sets of these cards. So like card 1, card 2. Then the next video is going to be card 3 and card 4. And then card 5 and card 6. and then card 7 and card 8. So I'm going to be making 4 videos to show these cards and kind of show you what to do. Now, all of the instructions have all of the cutting with them. So when you order this at dorothy.closetomyheart.com, when you go to click on the card making link, and it will take you to the main page, and it will say download guide. And that's where you can download these instructions. You can put them on your iPad or you can print them. I always print because I'm old school, but you can put them on your iPad, or just, if you pull up the website on the iPad, then you've got the instructions right there. You don't even have to download them. You can just pop them open and go through them. So super easy, but all of the cuts are right there. I just didn't want to take the time to do all of the cuts on the videos. So we're using a sage background for the 2 rectangles, and see they've got the stitched look around them. And this harbor is going all the way to the bottom from edge to edge, and the stripe paper is also going from edge to edge. And then the little peach kind of polka dotty is going down towards the bottom. So we're going to use some of the die cuts, the pop-out die cuts from our sheet that came with the card making kit. So you get the same sheet that comes with the scrapbooking kit for the card making. So you're going to end up with a lot of die cuts in the kraft paper look, to use on these cards, and then to use on anything else that you want to use, whether it's, more cards or scrapbook pages, up to you, but you'll end up with leftover stuff. So I even have leftovers from the scrapbooking, and we used a lot of the die cuts. There's a lot of die cuts on this scrapbooking, on the die cut sheet, a lot. So I'm using, I think I used the black ink, and I didn't mean to. I meant to use the Harbor ink. Maybe this is the Harbor, I hope. Anyway, the black was just too, Harbor ink is what went perfectly with it. So there we go. See, we've got happy birthday, celebrate. And then we're going to pull off a couple of flowers from the sheet. It's that open one. Gosh, I love those things. And then there's that one that has the white print on it. So many pop-outs. And there's also a little leaf. And I'm getting ink on my little bag there. Yeah, try to remember to close your inks. Just saying. Okay, so there's my large flower, and I'm just going to use some liquid glue on there and dot it around. And I'm sorry, there we go. Just little dots. Doesn't need, a whole ton of ink. Glue. We've got that, and then this one, it could get popped up. There we go. And then the leaves, those are going to get tucked underneath. So I'm just going to put some Tombow on them and roll it under. And just kind of place them so you can't see too much of the stem. There we go. So it's a little different looking. And then we're going to use, I'm just going to put some little bitty dots of glue down, and I'm going to get my little wax pickup tool and just pick up some sequins and put them down. It works so good. It's just so easy. So we've got our next card going here. So I like the kind of watercolor look, so I'm letting that stick up. You don't see a whole lot of the watercolorish look, you know, but it's not, you know, a solid. So you could, there's one thin cut that does the frame and the inside. So when you cut it for the frame, then you get the inside. So the stitched rectangles, or, you know, any of these stitched thin cuts that we have, but the stitched rectangles are just perfect because you're making frames and you're making card sentiment things, or even, you know, good for titles, or even journaling cards for scrapbooking. So they're really versatile, and you get a lot for you know, what it does. You get a frame and an inside. And so on a later card, we're going to be using the frame on one and the insides on the other. So you'll see, you know, how you can get, you know, a different look from mixing and matching. So I've tried to put things back, but it, you know, sometimes you kind of get the best of yourself. Now this is going to have a big thing on the inside, so I'm putting the sentiment right down here on the open white space, and it says much love. So these are cards that can, you know, be for all sorts of different reasons, or no reason at all. So just as an aside, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and ring the bell, and you can either work along with me. If you know, get your scrapbooking kit or your card making kit, then you can work along with me, and you know, hopefully I can help you along the way if there's something that's confusing for you. Believe me, I got confused, so you're not alone. But hopefully you get to see me work it out and see and say, well, you know, I really don't like what she did, so now I'm going to do something else because I can see what it looks like. So, you know, however you use my instruction, that could be just a mere suggestion. It's up to you. So I'm going to put my little dots down and get my sequins in its little craft jar, and use my little wax tool to pick up the sequins. So I was really glad I got this little wax tool. It seemed kind of weird to me at first, but you know, when I started using it, it's like, oh man, boy, does that make it easier. So here we go. We are done with card number 2. So I will see you on card number 3 and 4. Bye. And here's our final product of these really pretty cards. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, this is Hope and Kindness. Bye. Hi, I'm Dorothy Smith. Thanks for watching my video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and learn along with me. Thanks. Bye-bye.